The air crackled with tension, a palpable force that seemed to press down on everything within the dimly lit warehouse. Jimin and Julian faced each other, their past alliance nothing but a fading memory, a ghost of what once was. The bond they had shared was now shattered, replaced by a cold, unyielding animosity. The warehouse, dimly lit by shafts of sunlight piercing through the grimy windows, felt more like a gladiatorial arena. The beams of light cut through the darkness, casting long, eerie shadows that danced on the walls. Each held the fate of the other in their hands, their weapons a stark reminder of the deadly consequences that hung in the balance. One wrong move could be deadly. A single misstep could spell the end for either of them. The stakes had never been higher.
I won't underestimate you again, Jimin. Julian's voice was steady, but there was an undercurrent of fear, a recognition of the formidable opponent he now faced.
Julian, usually so sure of himself, hesitated. The confidence that had always been his hallmark was now replaced by a gnawing uncertainty. He had underestimated Jimin before, a mistake that had cost him dearly. The memory of that error haunted him, a constant reminder of his own fallibility. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. This time, he was prepared, his mind sharpened by the lessons of the past.
You should have learned by now, Julian. Jimin's voice was calm, but there was a steely edge to it, a warning that she was not to be underestimated. I'm not as vulnerable as I seem. Her words were a declaration of strength, a reminder that she was a force to be reckoned with.
Jimin, though seemingly vulnerable, exuded a quiet strength. Her presence was commanding, her resolve unbreakable. Her eyes, reflecting the faint light, held a steely glint that spoke of her determination. They were the eyes of someone who had faced countless challenges and emerged stronger each time. The silence stretched, punctuated only by the distant screech of a car alarm. It was a stark contrast to the tension that filled the warehouse, a reminder of the world outside. It was a reminder of the chaos that had engulfed their world, a world that had been turned upside down by conflict and betrayal, a world where trust was a luxury they could no longer afford. The game had changed, and the rules were now dictated by survival. Survival, not friendship, was the only rule that mattered now. In this harsh new reality, alliances were fleeting, and every decision could mean the difference between life and death. Julian's hand tightened around the makeshift weapon he held. He scanned their surroundings, gauging escape routes, calculating risks. Engaging Jimin in a direct confrontation seemed reckless.
She's too resourceful, too quick. I've seen what she's capable of.
He knew her abilities. She was resourceful, quick, and utterly ruthless when she needed to be. He had seen it firsthand during their escape from the facility. The memory flashed in his mind. Jimin, fearless and lethal, taking down their pursuers with calculated precision. It sent a shiver down his spine.
Discretion is the better part of valor. Living to fight another day is the smart choice here.
Julian, despite his bravado, was a pragmatist. He valued his life above all else. And right now, living to fight another day seemed far more appealing than a confrontation with uncertain outcomes. The phenomenon that had brought them back, the revival, hung heavy in the air, casting an otherworldly glow that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. It was a double-edged sword, offering a second chance at life while simultaneously plunging them into a maelstrom of uncertainty and danger. The revival had given them hope, but it also came with a price, a constant reminder of the fragility of their existence. They were no longer the same people they were before. The trials they had faced had left indelible marks on their souls, etching lines of pain and resilience into their faces. The experience had changed them, hardened their edges, and instilled in them a primal instinct to survive. Each day was a battle, and every decision could mean the difference between life and death. Old alliances meant nothing in this new reality. The bonds that once held them together had been shattered, replaced by a wary distance and a need to protect oneself above all else. Trust had to be earned, and even then, it was a fragile thing. The slightest misstep could unravel the tenuous threads of trust that had been painstakingly woven. Every interaction was a delicate dance, a careful negotiation between self-preservation and the need for cooperation. They had to weigh their options, constantly assessing who could be an ally and who might be a threat.
We've all changed. The revival has left none of us untouched, and the scars we bear are both visible and hidden deep within. Trust is a luxury we can't afford anymore. In this new world, suspicion is our constant companion, and vigilance is our only safeguard.
Jimin knew this better than anyone. Her journey had been fraught with peril, and she had learned the hard way that trust could be a deadly gamble. She had seen the darkness that lurked beneath the surface, the hidden fears and desperate measures that could drive people to unspeakable acts. The desperation that could turn friend against friend was a constant threat, a shadow that loomed over every interaction. Her guard remained up, her senses alert for any sign of betrayal. In this world of second chances and uncertain alliances, survival depended on staying one step ahead of danger. The warehouse, once a place of mundane commerce, bustling with activity and the hum of daily operations, now felt like a battleground, a stark contrast to its former self. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat, every corner a potential hiding spot for danger, and every creak of metal a potential ambush waiting to spring. Jimin moved with a practiced grace, her movements fluid and deliberate, her senses on high alert, attuned to the slightest sound or movement.
Stay focused. Trust no one, she reminded herself, the mantra echoing in her mind.
She could feel Julian's eyes on her, a constant reminder of the precariousness of her situation, his gaze a tangible weight on her back, like a predator watching its prey. She didn't need to turn to know he was weighing his options, his mind a whirlwind of calculations, calculating the risks and rewards of betraying her, the potential gains and losses. It was a game they were both playing, a dangerous dance of suspicion and survival, each step a careful maneuver, each glance a silent communication. The air thrummed with unspoken tension, a palpable force that seemed to vibrate through the very walls.
The stakes are higher now, she whispered to herself, the gravity of the situation sinking in. One wrong move and it's over. The thought was a constant companion, a shadow that loomed over every decision.
The stakes were higher now, the consequences of failure more dire than ever before. They were no longer fighting just for themselves, but for the hope of finding others like them, others who shared their plight, of unraveling the mystery of their resurrection, and perhaps finding a way to end the cycle of suspicion and fear.